Hello, everybody. We're back. Another episode of Brosticast.
Couple
Uh,
weeks.
it's been more than 2. Oh, is the dog?
Yeah.
Okay. I shall talk to everybody. Hello. Welcome. Today's episode is going to start off with me listing a bunch of spoilers. But not spoilers actually, just fun little things you can look up. One Piece episode 483. ReZero's Arc 6. In fact, don't do Arc 6. Go to Arc 7 and look at specifically the artwork. And we're back. Alright. So, the dog is staring.
Well, that open for her.
Alright,
For now.
fair enough. So we're back. It's been a few weeks because we just have not had an insane amount of time to record. And I mentioned this with that video I recently did on the channel, where I just mentioned the fact that I haven't had an insane amount of time to do fucking anything. Even highlights, you might notice there's like a decline with the amount that have come out, and it's just because I'm so focused on getting the next review out, or the next 2 reviews, depending, because I'm deciding if I want to split it up or not.
And I haven't had time to do much of my own things, so I've been using the time I've had to do my own stuff, which is also why we haven't done this in a couple weeks, because now we finally have time.
Yeah. But yeah, we haven't had an insane amount of time. I have multiple videos on the backlog that I need to work on, and then I have the 2 reviews, and I'm still supposed to do the Pokemon stream, although I'm waiting till I'm done the reviews for that. I want to make sure I'm done those, just get those out of the way. And then we will officially start that after months of me saying it. But yeah, all this shit has been difficult, and it's also made Brosticast difficult because we just have not been able to do it for the past 2 weeks. But whatever, it gives us more time to talk about shit, I guess. And it's not like we're specifically doing this every single week. This is just for fun at the moment, I guess. I mean, it always kind of will be for fun. But there's nothing like extra gained other than just doing this for fun. We talk and then you all listen, you enjoy. And it's nice that it seems to be there's people enjoying it. I like that. But yeah, we're back finally. It's almost been a month, but we're here. And yeah, I guess the first thing I do want to talk about. Just to ask and overall mention it, because I've mentioned it myself on the podcast previously, and I occasionally mention it on the channel, or at least I think I have. But I was hoping to talk about this for the past 2 weeks or so if we got a Brosticast episode out, and that is the fact that you started Jujutsu.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if you would like to share your thoughts so far on the series and all that.
So far I like it quite a bit. I think with the last few episodes I've been watching, it's gotten better. Because I just did the first episode of
Second arc.
the second arc. So the last few episodes have gotten okay, I'm starting to see why people really love this. The last I don't know, 5 episodes have been like that. It was a bit of a slower start and it was cool, but I was like, it hasn't really yanked on me yet. You need to keep watching. Now I'm in that spot, but I also am trying not to overdo it because I want to do other things. And that's the only reason why I haven't watched I watched that one episode today, the most recent one that I was talking about, and that's the only reason I didn't watch more, because I want to, but I want to work on my stuff. I haven't had the time, and I've been having trouble at times doing that. So, but I'm liking it so far. It gives me it's interesting because I know I mentioned this to you before, but it gives me the whole thing of him eating the finger, Naruto feel. But then the whole really dark, kind of at points gory feel people dying and like the way they die, Demon Slayer. It's giving me a Demon Slayer feel. And then the whole thing about only people, there's only certain people who can see curse users because like curses because they were just kind of like born with that. Like other people can't see them. That gives me a whole like JoJo stand feel. Only stand users can see other stands, even though the other stands can kind of do shit to people who don't even know they exist.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a mix of those, and I'm like, all right, that's an interesting kind of like vibe I'm getting here of all these different things. But yeah, I'm enjoying it so far quite a bit. I like how I was a little confused at first about how this whole curses thing was gonna work. But essentially, it's in a way, it's like if it was just like magic abilities. But it's interesting because it's not, and it's like it's different. It's different in the sense of they're still like curses, but like people are using them, and so you can like sense curse energy, kind of like how you can sense someone's key in Dragon Ball Z. Just realized that right now as I was talking. And just things like that, like it has some interesting things, and I'm kind of like, and some of the abilities are really cool so far, like some of the curse abilities. But I think it's this like I think at the start for me what it was like the curses thing. I was like, I don't know where they go. Like I was trying to figure out in my head, like, how do they go about this? Where do they go with this? Like, how do they make this so interesting? Because I didn't quite see it yet, and now I'm starting to see it, and I'm sure, like, as I watch this arc, it's going to... I'll just see it even more.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an interesting way to do things, and I'm really starting to enjoy it now with the last few episodes because of that. But yeah, that is my thought right now. I'm curious about some things, like, why Gojo's so fucking OP. Gotta be a reason. And how strong the real Sukuna actually is, like, the full power one. And also why Itadori, was just so immensely physically strong from the get-go. Even though he wasn't
that's something that's, like, really interesting. Like, even manga readers, like myself, I don't think we even... There's things that, like, right? Like, it makes you go, but we don't have the full, like, proper information to give us everything we need about that and all that. But it's definitely, like, it's something interesting, and I also want to know more about, because it's like, shit, this is taking quite...
I'd like to know more about, like, Fushiguro and... I'm really bad with all their names right now, I'm not gonna lie.
Fushiguro
there are a lot of names in this show, I will say, and it's not a problem. It's just something that's gonna take me time. I swear, I have trouble remembering a lot of their names because, like,
just describe them.
The names are very. She's the brown hair girl. One of the first third year, the other third year. First year. Oh my god, I said third year. I meant to say the first year, and I said the first third. No.
Okay, yeah.
I said that backwards.
Nobara, or like Kugisaki, whichever name you want to call it.
I'm curious. I want to know more about both of them because they seem very interesting, and like others seem interesting too. But I will say, like, these 3 first years, they've definitely stood out a little more to me, and like. It seems like there's more to them in the sense of just... I don't even know how to explain it. Just, like... I like the whole thing how, like... I want to know why Sukuna's interested in Fushiguro. big time, because that kind of excites me. Because I'm like, okay, Fushiguro's gotta be very interesting then. Holy shit. There's something here I want to know about, but then she's also very sorry, help me.
Kugisaki.
Yeah. That's why that name, I cannot say that name. I cannot remember that name.
Honestly, I usually say Nobara because that's just easier to remember.
Okay. But yeah, Nobara is very interesting in the sense of like, I feel like you can see there's a lot more to her character, but nothing's been explained. And then there's, Panda, who's a panda, and it's like, okay, well, that's just freaking
Panda
great.
gets so fucking good.
And he seems pretty cool too.
I'm glad that
I'm like,
a bit.
Holy shit, what is this?
Yeah.
How does a part of my question is like, what the hell is his curse power to make him a panda? Or is it a panda got hit by curse power or something? Like, what?
I'm trying to remember the order. Okay, I'll say it because it's not really a spoiler thing. I feel. But the second arc is like split into fights. Like with everybody essentially getting somebody they fight. It's not really a spoiler to say. It's just like something, whatever. It's a common shonen type of thing, I'd argue. But the second arc is kind of split into fights, and I'm trying.
Yeah, I figured that might happen.
Yeah. Panda has one, and it's great. I'm just trying to remember if is it first?
I think it might be. It's starting in the next episode because I remember seeing the preview he might fighting.
He might be first then. I think he is actually. I think he is first because I remember. I think I saw him do shit first, and then everybody else. With the exclusion, of course, of like Yuji, because his stuff is just going. It's but yeah, I think that's first, and you'll get to see more about him there, and that'll be nice. I will say for me, like for my first time experience, I might mention it on the first episode of the podcast. I don't remember, but it was definitely interesting going into it because I heard a lot of people talking like a lot of good shit about it, and that worried me a bit because sometimes people talk good about a series and then you watch it and you're like, oh, that was great, and then there's others, like I've mentioned before, that I hear people talking about. I'm like, I'll try that, and I just get either upset or bored that I even watched that. And like Jujutsu was no exception to this because like everybody just wanted to, like, everybody was talking about how much they wanted to just, like, fuck Gojo. And I'm like, okay, cool. What about the actual show? Like, I was like
what?
Yeah, no, it was just like, oh, look at Gojo. Oh, I'm like, all right, cool. What about the show?
Also, I really like the art, too. Like,
the art,
the style that they have.
The art is nice. Sometimes it's bleh. And I mean, I know some people... Like,
I noticed it when they were running. In the recent episode, I was like, what's up with their faces? And they're talking. Mm-hmm. What's up with their faces?
Because I know some people are like huge with Mappa and everything because some people like Attack on Titan and stuff. I'm not really huge with Mappa at all. I do think they did Jujutsu well though. I do think they did it pretty well. There are scenes that look kind of and they did use CGI once, and it was at a really bad moment, where it's fucking Mahito getting hit, and it's like, oh yeah, nice CGI. Glad you used that there. But overall, they animated it well, and I like that. But going into it, I didn't have insane high hopes. I will say I didn't have the gut feeling I usually have, because when I go into a show, I either get a gut feeling of this'll be great or this'll suck, and usually it's correct. Not always, but usually it's correct. And I went into this show with like, you know what, I think it'll be good. I was shown a clip or two by a friend of mine, so it's like, it'll probably be fine. And I ended up watching it, and I'd say it's like probably my 8th favorite anime at the moment. Now, of course, I'm not like some people who have watched like 200 series out there. If I'm looking at it right now, my total amount that I am in total of watching, completed, on hold, plan to watch, all of that amounts to like 60 something. I don't know. It's somewhere around there. So it's not an insane amount. It's decent, but like it's not an insane amount. In terms of like currently completed, it's like 34, and then watching is like free, so it's like 37 in total, I guess. But I will say so far it has become like my 8th favorite series. It also helps that I've read the manga, right? Because like 25 episodes, and I haven't seen the movie. I haven't seen Zero. I do have the manga of Zero, but I don't. Haven't actually seen the movie yet. But 25 episodes, of course, is like, it's a little bit rough to get a full. I mean, I'd say that's maybe enough to get like a full perspective on if you think a show is your favorite. I mean, usually most shows are like 25 episodes for the first season. And I will say it was pretty good there, and reading the manga definitely helped. Seeing more of the shit that happens later, the crazy shit, the characters improving. Other shit that I'm not going to go into for spoilers, but that shit was also crazy. Wasn't expecting pretty much all of it. Well, okay, I was expecting one thing, but
I always take it with like a bit of a grain of salt of like when I'm going into a new anime that is popular and it's only the first season out, I'm like, I hear it's good. I need to watch. I want to watch it. I'm gonna watch it. I'll probably enjoy it because I hear it's good, and in most cases I always enjoy it. I almost always enjoy it if I hear it's good. It's just I've learned to go into animes because like I think there are a few that have taught me this, but I think the one that kind of taught me the most was Fire Force, where the first half wasn't bad, but I was kind of like, I don't see it. And then the second half of the first season hit, and I'm like, all right, you got me. and then I watched the second season, and I was like, all right.
For me,
we're good.
For me, that was,
But it's like, I find, like, the first season, I always try to take with a grain of salt, because some of them just start off really slow. And it's like, they need to. So, for me, I find you need to watch that first season. For, like, me, I always try to watch that first season and then kind of decide off of that. And even then, like, a first season, I try. What am I saying? I try to decide off of that because usually at the back half of the first season is where it starts getting better. And then it's like, okay, because it got better here, there's a good chance that the second season's going to be really well done then. And usually that's the case, is what I find too. Like another one, for example, is Railgun. I do not really enjoy the first half of its first season, but then the second half, I actually really enjoyed it. Then the second season, I was like, damn, this is even better. And the third one, I freaking went nuts because that one was like, whoo! Yeah. But yeah, that was like, that's my favorite one so far. So it's like, a lot of the time I find that happens. Of course, with some shows that's not the case, but most of the time, at least from what I've watched, maybe I've gotten lucky, that is the case. Maybe I'm just lucky and picked the right things.
I will say, series I've mentioned twice now on the podcast, but I'll do it again. With something like Demon Slayer, even going through season 1 where I mentioned like, oh wow, what was it, like episode 18, 19, whatever the fuck, even mentioned like, wow, that was a great episode and all that. I watched all of the first season, went, yeah, that's pretty good, but I don't see why this series is so popular. Because I was just like, like it's definitely good and I enjoyed watching it, but it was like, what makes this stand out? Because there's really not much that I like felt. It's like, oh, okay, because the biggest thing for me was, or maybe not biggest thing, but like the biggest thing that they made a point of is like, oh, specific blades and fighting styles to take out these demons and everything. And I'm like, cool, but this isn't some sort of new thing that's technically being like developed on. Like, if I really had to make a comparison, we have the niche gimmick of Hamon in like part 1 and 2 of JoJo, and I feel like I fucking love part 1 and like some of part 2. I really do enjoy. I mean, I enjoyed part two, but some of it I really do enjoy, because of that shit. Because it's very much taking something like this and putting a neat spin on it. But I think my biggest problem with Demon Slayer for a while was it doesn't feel like there's a neat spin. It feels like
it's just kind of slaying demons.
Yeah, and it's like, because okay, here's a good example.
I can understand.
So, some people might not fully understand what I mean, and let me go further into it. Let's compare something like Demon Slayer, where it's like, oh, he uses the like 9th form and cuts a demon, and it's like that's cool. But then cut to like part 2 of like JoJo or something, or not even part 2. One of my favorite fucking ways to quote unquote kill a villain, with part 1.
Oh.
Well, yeah, no, I know what you were thinking.
I was thinking part 4.
Well, no, because I'm talking about Hamon and everything.
Oh, right.
One of my favorite ways to quote unquote kill a villain, with the cover your hand in the fucking like the ability of like, oh, I can now punch a vampire or a zombie and kill it, and then also put it on fire so that you can't freeze. And it's like, okay, that is really fucking clever. Like that's using it to a further like bigger accomplishment, essentially, is kind of what I'm trying to say. Like, and I think part 2 really does that well. As much as I would kind of put part 2 lower on my personal list of like all my parts and everything, I will say a lot of that is very creative on how it uses it, and I do enjoy that. And I think that was my biggest problem for a while, was it didn't feel that creative. Whereas I will say shit like the movie and season 2 helped. There were bigger things that like just helped that. It might have been like part of it because of the villains having very, maybe not very unique, but definitely like some unique
For Demon Slayer?
Yeah.
That's actually what I was about to say. I was like,
are...
I think for me, it's the villains. It's
Mm-hmm.
the villains, but it's not just the villains. The fighting styles, while they're nothing special, they're really cool to see and witness and look at, even though they're nothing special. And I think that's kind of like one of those things that it's like, you don't need anything that you randomly make up, because this simple formula works fine because it's very intriguing for some reason, because it looks good, because you have all these different techniques like 9th style and 5th style and such. But then also like the characters are interesting too. Like, I don't think anybody hates Nezuko.
I don't know. For me personally, I'm honestly like not huge on any of the main characters except for honestly like Inosuke, because it's weird. It's a lot of shit of he's the type of character to just run in headfirst and nothing else. Also there's just like a comedic thing to him, but also there's this, compared to everybody else, this is what really intrigued me about him, is everybody else gets their backstory type of thing. You see a second of his, he goes, "Who the fuck are you?" to the person he's seeing in his backstory, and then that's it. At least from what I've seen at the moment, that is it. And I'm like, fuck, now I'm interested. Who the fuck was that? I'm agreeing with him. Who the fuck was that? So it makes him really interesting, because it's like, oh shit, now I want to know more about this dude. Not to say like other characters having backstories is bad, but there's nothing else to the others that I feel super insane on. Like,
I'm not huge on, I don't remember his name, but the yellow guy.
Zenitsu or whatever. Yeah.
Like, he's not bad.
Yeah.
I don't mind him. Like, his backstory is kind of touching a bit. How like he was just so weak, but then he falls asleep, and it's like he's OP as fuck. But like, I don't know. I always found like the others a little more interesting. Or at least Tanjiro and Nezuko I kind of found more interesting, especially with how they started the whole series of like, she needs to die, and then she didn't die, and she went from crazy to okay. And I think part of it for me too is it's like you see what Tanjiro's father was doing, like that dance,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like it was some kind of special dance, quote unquote, and it's like okay, his father wasn't there when all the when all this shit went down, presuming he's dead beforehand, but like why was his family targeted?
Yeah.
I think it's like I think it's more so like everything except for a unique fighting style that kind of catches people's eye, especially when you get later on into this first season. It's like okay, cool.
Yeah, for me at the moment, it's just like I don't know. I'm not huge on the main cast. I'm more into the like villains, and I know some people are like that with some shows. For me,
And I do agree.
for me, it varies from show to show, and like not all the time it'll be like I don't like or not like not all the time it won't be like oh I think the main characters are just decent. Like I might like some of the main characters a decent bit, but it does vary from show to show. Like
There's One Piece that at points has great villains and great main characters.
yeah,
We're gonna talk about some of the villains, like Slow Beam, but
yeah, yeah. Honestly, that one's like a half because like my like top 4 favorite, like half of them are like I guess yeah on a more protagonist side, and then the other half being antagonists. But or maybe top 5 actually. I guess top 5.
I guess there are some animes that will like the villains and the heroes will catch you and catch your eye.
It all depends on the series, and for me,
Yeah.
Demon Slayer is like doesn't have that many characters that I'm super interested in on the like hero side of things, like other than Inosuke, and I guess like currently out of the 2 of fucking I forgot how many of the big upper people, because it's been a bit since I watched, and also I mean I didn't even I think I read a chapter. I think we went to the Sonic movie, and I read a chapter, and that was it. So hey, I'm a chapter ahead of the anime. But yeah, the like the 2 that I've seen so far are neat, but other than that, it's like the villains I've been enjoying. Season 2's villains, I mentioned this before, I was like really fucking enjoying. I thought they were great, and it's weird because the gimmick there, I might have said this before, but the gimmick there is a gimmick I'm not huge on with the villains. There's an example in One Piece. I'm not going to go into it, but for those who know what I'm referring to in One Piece and know what I'm referring to in Demon Slayer, you can make the obvious connection there. And I'm not huge about the characters in One Piece that are like that, but I did enjoy the Demon Slayer ones. Like those were some great shit. Where it's weird because I'm usually not huge on that. Yeah, I don't know. I do want to like Demon Slayer more, and maybe if I get further into it, I might. But at the current moment, it's not super high for me. It's like it's neat. I will say, as much as I'm like it's neat. I will say I do enjoy that. Of course, I'm watching it and reading it and all that. Right? It's worth it. I will say, but it's not anything too insane. I'm not like fucking like on my hands and knees like oh I fucking kneel like it's not something like that.
What?
But yeah, I don't know. But we were talking about Jujutsu.
Yeah, overall,
Yeah.
I've been enjoying it quite a bit.
Yeah, I will say with Jujutsu, it has felt like there's a lot to enjoy there. Honestly, I mentioned the whole like liking main characters and villains. I think Jujutsu does have a great blend for me, where it's like
I'd agree. Yeah.
I'm
trying to think of another one.
I'm a fan of like both, where it's like I guess I can't go into some of the villains and everything, or like some of the shit just yet, but like I might have mentioned it before of Mahito. Really fucking love him as a villain. He's a complete scumbag. He reminds me of a certain villain I recently talked about on the channel. He's very much similar to that villain, both ability wise and how I guess scumbaggy wise.
I will say about Jujutsu.
Yeah.
Wow, I lost it. Shit.
Alright, sick.
Fuck. I mean, you were mentioning how like you like both of the characters, and I was just talking about how I like the show and. Oh, you're right. So Jujutsu, I think my final thing I want to say about it though, before we just move on, is to me, it's because like I had this impression after like the first like 8 episodes. I'm like, this anime is going to be a like it's starting off slow and it's going to build. Like that's what it seems to me. It seems like it's going to be one of those ones where it builds up and like as the next season and the next season come by and happen, like it's going to get better and better and better. Like it's just like things are going to build and connect because it's like there's so many. I feel like there's definitely questions, several questions, and like things that are kind of like not explained yet either. Like that one dude, I'm like, okay, why is that human with curses? I mean, it was kind of explained for like a minute, but then it's like, okay, well, what's happening here, and why does he look like this guy now, and like other shit, and it's like, I think, and especially with everything with Sukuna and Gojo and characters like the other first years and even the other characters. More so the first years, I guess. Like we don't really know their backstories, or at least I don't, and like, or anyone's really.
I'm pretty sure
mainly
they actually
anyone's.
slap on like all the backstories just back to back, like in the next few episodes. Like I think they do it with this arc where they just constantly.
Okay. I was thinking like they might do it with this one, but it's like it does seem to me like this is going to be one of those. At least this is the impression I'm getting, that it's going to be one of those animes that it's a lot of. I wouldn't say world building, but I'd say character development and like a lot of just like we're gonna get like a lot of things happening as like more seasons come out. I mean, like normal animes, of course, but like it just feels like it gives me a bit of a One Piece feel in the sense of like how slow it first started, but now there's so much to it. That's the best way I can put it. Like, and it's not going to be that long, but that's what it feels like it's going to kind of do. Is it starts off kind of slow, and then there's going to be so much to it later. That's the impression I'm getting, is what I mean. There we go. Now I explained it right. Wanted to make sure I got that right, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Why did I look up?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, there's a lot with Jujutsu that's definitely interesting. Like even manga readers, we still don't know.
See, my impression is right.
Well, it's just like it's a lot of mystery just surrounding it, and from what I understand.
Yeah, that's probably why I feel that way.
From what I understand, the manga is only
sense.
50% done at the current moment. I don't even remember what chapter are we even on. Let me see. I have it bookmarked because I always keep up. Oh, is it?
I did want to talk about a couple things after once, like about the piece of one.
1A.
We get the chance.
Okay, so yeah, we're at like 1A for which is apparently halfway done from what I understand. So I mean, eventually we might see like all this shit come.
So we're definitely having a few seasons. It's not like a 3-seasoner or anything.
It's weird because some people have said like, oh, the next like arc isn't gonna be able to be like a full season. They're gonna have to like split it up or or like something. And I was like, I don't know that they're gonna have to. I think they'll probably be fine. The only reason I think they might have to split it up is they have a fuck ton of projects to work on, from what I understand, at MAPPA.
I mean, they could also like if it doesn't work, they could also do the same thing like Demon Slayer did. Like, I mean, they already made a movie too, so they could make another movie after the second season to kind of finish things up. But I'm not sure what it would be like because I haven't read it, so I don't know if that's really possible. Because at least Demon Slayer kind of worked out with the way it was lined up.
Yeah.
But I don't know how this one will.
I guess we can move on to whatever you wanted to speak about.
Right. So right. I wanted to do this last time, but we were talking so much about the whole Luffy power.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unless you have some kind of like topic that you want to talk about first.
I had a topic for the podcast, but I can wait till like after you're done.
Okay.
With whatever you want to mention.
As like the final kind of thing, I guess.
I guess, yeah. Because I got a general idea when we were just talking about this.
Because it's about those ideas I've had about the show that I kind of mentioned to you a few times, or a couple times, and things like that we've talked about. Because we've like speculated things. And I kind of like, I wanted to, that this was where I wanted to talk about it. And unfortunately, because, we talked about the Sonic movie last time, didn't really have the opportunity because I wanted to jump onto it after talking about the whole spoiler thing. But because of the movie, that wasn't happening. So, I don't even know where to begin, I guess. I know we talked about, I know there are a few things. I guess the first thing would be for me is like we could talk about the whole nobody has drowned yet.
Mm-hmm.
There's this whole devil fruit thing, and no one has drowned.
Yeah.
At all. So somebody's definitely drowning.
Yeah, I've seen speculation about Blackbeard being the one there. We might have even mentioned that before, actually. I don't remember.
I don't think we did, but maybe. But
I know we've discussed it, but I don't know if it's been.
I know we discussed it when we were hanging out with our mom one time. That's when we discussed it.
Randomly fucking discuss this shit.
Yeah.
Somebody who does not understand.
Right. But I guess the thing I wanted to touch on about that is a lot of people speculate, like, Blackbeard's the one who's going to drown. And there's that recent thing that I got told that I will mention right after this, actually. Because that one's a big, important one. But, so, for me, I don't think it would be unfitting if Blackbeard was the one who drowned. But I think it would be even more fitting if the person everybody hates the most was the one who drowned. Like, ha, you fucker, this is your fucking justice. Because shit-face, Akainu, I think should be the one drowning. Yeah. Because nobody has drowned through the entire thing. Anybody with a devil fruit, they've always been kind of saved. And it's like, the whole thing is, they can't swim. So, we're going to get to a point where somebody will drown. I do think it'll be a teeny bit anticlimactic if Blackbeard does end up drowning. In a way. And depending, and with this new information about Luffy and his powers, don't even know if Blackbeard will be, I don't even know if it would be possible for Blackbeard to drown. Because, like, I know there's speculations now about things like, what if Blackbeard's ability is the reason the red line exists?
Yeah.
Like, what if, like, his power is able to kind of, like, shift, like, ground? And that's why, like, this whole weird red line, like, I'm kind of like, shit, we might actually get the explanation of why the red line exists in the first place, which would be awesome. And what if it comes down and there's the all blue? There you go, Sanji. That honestly, that'd be kind of funny, but there probably is some area at the end there that does have, like, where all fish can kind of go. But that whole thing with Blackbeard, just, to me, it just wouldn't seem it just seems a little anticlimactic if it was him. And I think Akainu is the one who deserves it after all the shit he's done. Freaking fisting Ace, as
Wording,
you will.
but yeah.
What?
Wording, but yeah.
Yeah. After like all that's happened, I feel like the person who has to drown is the one who deserves it. And to me, I just see Akainu as the bigger asshole. Like, as much as Blackbeard's an asshole, he's a good villain, and, I want that fight to end well. So, yeah, that's partially why I think that. But anyways, on to the next thing I wanted to mention that I just remembered. So my cousin shared something with me.
Oh, yeah, this.
And I really wanted to talk about this. Because, yeah, so... I don't know if this is a spoiler warning. I don't think so. Because it's just a theory, but there is something about
it's a theory, but
because there's something that Oda said that I'm going to mention, but I don't think that's really.
I mean, okay, the one thing. I know he said one thing about it, and I mean.
I don't think that's a huge thing.
That's not a spoiler, but I don't know if the thing you're thinking of is the same as the one I'm thinking of.
Because that's the one I'm thinking of?
Well, yeah, no. I know that. I just don't know if there was like more than one or anything.
No, not really. Okay. No, it was a whole eye patch thing about that Oda said about how the whole. I mean, it's not a spoiler, but it's something of like. Do people want to know this? I guess.
It's whatever. Basically, Oda plans on like somebody in these series will have an eye patch since nobody else has, and he does have it planned out for who it'll be and everything.
Mm-hmm. And everybody presumes it's Luffy because it's like he'll become the king of the pirates, and it's all about how the eye patch thing became popular. Mm-hmm. That's what the story's gonna lead to. Of the point of like kind of how the idea started, I'm guessing is why he did that. But so my guess is it's gonna be I think not even just my guess, I think everybody's guess is it's like, okay, it's gonna be Luffy, he'll become the king of the pirates, start wearing an eye patch, everybody will be like they want to be the king of the pirates too, they'll start wearing eye patches, and then it'll become a whole trend. And it's like that's how that whole trend started in the One Piece world. Because that's like the goal is how it became a pirate thing when, they don't need it. So on top of that, my cousin said something to me and he asked me, I was a little worried at first because I was worried it would spoil something for me, but you know what? I'm glad I freaking asked and said it's fine. He asked me about if I knew how the first eye patch was, how the eye patch thing on pirates became a thing, like an actual thing, not for One Piece, but yeah, I don't know why I had to explain that. But he told me that the reason the eye patch, the pirates would wear eye patches isn't because of an injury or anything. Like most of them didn't wear it because of that. There were a few that wore it because of an injury, but a lot of battles occurred on ships. And down below, in the deck, it's darker. I think people might already guess where I'm going with this. But, so they wore an eye patch so they could see better in the dark. Because if you blur one side, you can actually see better with the other eye. So it's brighter, which is really cool. Because it's like, I've tried that before, and it works. And it's a weird thing. It improves the other eye's vision for whatever reason. It's really cool.
Because it's almost like more focused and everything.
Yeah. That's probably why. But when he said that, I realized that Blackbeard has, whether or not it's still a Logia fruit, because it doesn't behave like one, but Blackbeard's fruit is a dark fruit. So, for Luffy to fight against him, he might end up needing to wear an eye patch so he can see better. And then at the end, he might just pull a Luffy thing and be like, this is cool, I'm just going to keep wearing it, and then everybody starts wearing it. Or something of that sort. But the whole thing of, like, he needs the eye patch to help him defeat Blackbeard because of his dark fruit, was my thought. Like, wow, did Oda... Oda probably planned that, if that is the case. Because he seems to plan so much. His planning is kind of absurd. But, and I love it. But yeah, it was something that I just thought, wow, this is, that's kind of crazy. That's nuts when you think about it. So, yeah, I just wanted to share that because I was like, my mind was blown the second I heard it. Yeah. I know I mentioned the whole thing about Shanks and Luffy fighting as well. Yeah. Like, I know a lot of people talk about, like, evil Shanks. Like, there's, like, I've seen, like, thumbnails of, like, evil Shanks theories and stuff.
I've seen some shit related to that, but it's, like, absurdly silly.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case. But what I would think it would be really cool, that I want to mention, is that, like, after Akainu is defeated and the government is taken down, I cannot wait to see what Kobe can do, by the way, once he gets there. Once he gets, like, to the admiral position. So excited for him. But once Akainu is defeated and drowns, we're going to say, and Blackbeard is defeated because of Luffy's eye patch and Luffy powers of sun... Didn't mean to say that. But I said it and was like,
well,
whoops.
I'll put a timestamp. This is spoilers, and if not, I mean, that'll be unfortunate for people listening on Spotify, possibly.
I'm sorry about that. I mean, yeah. Anyways, I probably made it worse by saying that.
Keep going for
me.
But
anywho, after all that's defeated, he gets to Laugh Tale, or he's at Laugh Tale, and he goes over to get the One Piece, and Shanks is standing right there, and he's holding his sword, ready to fight. And he's like, good job getting here, Luffy. I knew you could do it. I knew you could become, the famous pirate. And in, like, an epic kind of One Piece-y, heartful, touchy moment, he challenges Luffy to a fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know I told you about how I think that would be cool, because it's a very One Piece thing to do, kind of just, like, challenging him to a fight, not really, like, to kill him or anything, but more so just to show me that you can be the Pirate King. Like, prove to me, defeat me right now and here, because Shanks is, like, the most OP freaking warlord. Freaking, he's not a warlord, freaking emperor. And I know Blackbeard's pretty broken too, and he might be able to beat Shanks, but, like, if that doesn't happen, I think this would be a good alternative, basically is what I'm saying. Like, Shanks standing there, like, prove to me that you can be the best and you can be the Pirate King. And they fight in a, like, heartfelt, touched reunion moment. And it would just be very One Piece-y if that happened. I think that would be pretty cool. The only other thing I really wanted to mention was Tashigi. There's a piece of me that does not think Zoro's friend died.
That's fair.
Because they look exactly the same. Unless they're sisters. For whatever reason, unless they're related. That could be kind of cool, too. If they were related. And he just didn't know about it. I just thought of that one now. But, like, I think there's a possibility that, she wanted to fake her death to help motivate Zoro. And then, like, near the end, whether or not, like, after Zoro defeats Mihawk or before he beats Mihawk, Tashigi comes up and, she's actually her real self. Because she's all, like, Tashigi's all kind of... I mean, she's not as wimpy now, but she's definitely not, like... She's not nearly as strong as Zoro is. But it's, like, now she's, what was her name? Koina or something?
Who? His original...
The sword, yeah, the one who kept beating him.
Queen or something. I don't remember fully.
Yeah, and she's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, I'm not actually Tashigi. I was just kind of undercover."
And well, it might not even be that. It might even be like a new name she could have given herself or something.
True. Hell, she might. Yeah. But yeah, as like a surprise holy shit factor, I think that could be kind of cool. And it would kind of make sense in a way, because characters also don't die. Except in backstories. But in this case, that might not be true.
Yeah.
At least Shanks' arm is confirmed dead. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I just kind of wanted to share those things, because I've like thought about them before, and I wanted to mention them in this. I figured we would like talk back and forth about certain things like we did at the time when I brought these up, but it's been quite a while since I mentioned them, so I just thought, let me get over these quickly. Let me mention these quickly and share my thoughts and ideas, and people can, I guess, let me know what they think, because I just think all of this was really cool, especially the Blackbeard thing and the Shanks thing. Blackbeard and Shanks. All right, so yeah.
All right, so I thought about this because you know what, I kind of want to delve more into this just for fun.
Fundies.
So this is the topic I want to go with, and it's overall, it's two things really. It's what I want to see both of our perspectives of what villains are really like. Essentially what makes villains really great, whatever type it may be.
So like you want me to, both of us to list off like our favorite villains or something?
Well, hold on, like I more so meant like, okay, there's two things. One of them is that technically, but
God, that's a lot of thinking.
My first point was like more so, and this allows for time to think. I guess almost like stereotypes of villains that we enjoy, and possibly more so if it's narrowed down to
yeah, I gotta open my anime list now if you want this.
Possibly if it's narrowed down to like specific types and everything and all that, whatever it may be. And related to that, of course, is like, you know, favorite villains, least favorite villains, shit like that. And overall just comparing that, because I do like having discussions about villains and everything. I think they do really work well what happened.
Oh, I was just laughing because you were talking about I'm not one of those. I haven't seen like 200, and I'm like, oh, completed 151.
Bro, what the fuck is your plan to watch list?
Okay, it's things that I'm like, this could be interesting, and I just throw it.
Half of your bar is great.
More than half.
You know, more than half.
Yeah, by plan to watch, half of it is things I'm like, this could be interesting. I'll just throw it here. I may never watch it.
You have shit on your plan to read, but you're never gonna get to that with the fucking 500 above.
Yeah, true. I mean, plan to read, it was more so just like things I was like, I may end up just reading this for whatever reason. I don't know. Okay. No idea. But no, my plan to watch, half of it is just like things I just kind of threw on.
No, I don't do that. I just like to look at shit and
I
like,
just kind of threw it on.
I see what people say or anything like that, and I put it there. I
need to switch that.
Oh wait, okay. I guess you have multiple different series. I was gonna say I don't like how that. I was almost gonna say I don't like how that's organized. My favorite list is organized so it's the like above, and then below, above, below.
Okay.
But I mean, it's fine if you organize it like that.
I didn't know you could do that.
What do you mean?
I don't know you could do above and below. I thought it was like.
Well, like, okay, hold on.
I'm not logged in.
That's fine. I'm gonna pull up mine. Apologies to people listening, and you're just hearing us.
Yeah, I was just like, wait, let me change it to users.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of impossible.
I'm gonna have to specifically set it to, because if I remember correctly, if I put it on mail and then I hit find, and then yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me it's like I only do one per series and I put it above and below.
Oh, that? No, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, no.
No, I don't do that.
Because it just makes it easier to organize for me, my top, like, 10 favorite shows, and then
I mean, I still have to kind of change my favorite characters because, like, some of them are correct, but, like, the latter half, I will say, like, around the last two.
I mean...
Yeah, no, I'm kind of in love with the rest.
You pointed out, like, Mihawk there. Scrolling
Yeah, I know. I pointed out Mihawk, and I'm like, maybe I don't need to change any of this.
Okay, look, everybody has their own opinions, but at the same time, you pointed out Mihawk and you have Shanks on there. That guy has 2 minutes of screen time. I just want to mention that.
Everybody loves Shanks, even though he has 2 minutes of screen time.
Yeah, no, I organize it like that because it's much easier.
Oh, yours is the other way around. What the heck? Your favorite's on the right.
Yeah, no,
Interesting.
I have to reorganize that because it was just like putting it in first, and then I realized I was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, back to what you were saying. Sorry. I just pulled it up because I was trying to prepare myself.
So yeah, overall, I guess almost like types of villains we enjoy and stuff, and more so going into it of like villains we really like, villains we don't like, and like I guess almost more so sometimes the more specific thing of does a villain in this series make it like better? Like is the villain the bigger driving force here? If you get what I mean, right? Like essentially what I was saying earlier with stuff like Demon Slayer and stuff where it feels like I'm more invested in the villains and everything. Stuff like that.
Gotcha.
Because I will say, like, there is a decent bit of show where it's like...
Was the main character over the villains?
It's weird for me. It's like... I think it might be a majority of the time... I'm trying to think of, like, every villain I can think of from, like, some of my favorite series and stuff like that. And it's like... Like, okay, I think there's more characters for something like Jujutsu that I like in terms of the hero side than villain. I do like Mahito a lot. I do like... what is it? Seto, I think it... Yeah. I do like him a lot. All that. The other people that I can't really go into a whole lot, but there's like the one other person that, you know, that is there in the manga that I could mention. I'm enjoying him, or at least what we've seen of him. But I'm trying to think of myself because it's like, I'm like looking at my top 10 just to like think about it. I guess Yu Yu Hakusho, there are a decent bit of villains in Yu Yu Hakusho I do enjoy, and it's like a majority of the time they're all good. Albeit the main cast is also really good, but I will say like they're great. I need to focus on villains who make a series and everything, because I guess the prime example here I could go with.
So we're talking... Sorry, just want to make sure I understand. So we're talking about a villain that makes a series, pretty much.
Villain or villains. Like, honestly, I could mention this, but, and I think a lot of people would agree with me, is, like, ReZero has a lot of fucking great characters, but I don't think there is a single villain in that series where I was just like, yeah, they're good. Like, they were probably all above that, because they're legitimately that enjoyable. And I do think they really helped build the series. It's too bad we're not going to get any fucking...
It was just so far for me, in Baki. I was a villain. Well, I don't know. It's kind of a mix. I was going to say the villains, because I'm like, yeah. They were very intriguing from the get-go.
The convicts,
Yeah, the convicts, but I don't know. The guys who aren't villains, too, are pretty good.
I will say, because, okay, Yujiro can technically be seen as a villain. He's, like, antagonist, I guess. And I will say something I enjoyed of the series was that constant drive of at some point this fight is going to happen, like this final fight will happen, and I did really enjoy that about the series, and that's what drove me to read it. Was the whole thing of, well, eventually we're gonna get to the final fight, so I gotta get there myself. And
wait, which one are we talking about?
Like for Baki.
Oh, we're still talking about Baki. Okay.
And I think Yujo does really help make a driving force for Baki, because it very much gives the viewer that feeling of, hey, eventually we're gonna get there, like, and it's gonna happen, and it's exciting to see this progression constantly. And I think that's why it really works well with the comparison of the first fight in the series compared to that big fight, which is the first fight is, Baki just completely eating shit, but it helps build that progression to the point that we get to with the final battle, and it works really well for that. I think he does actually make a proper driving force for the plot and everything. It's actually tough to think of this shit, but there are villains who I do really fucking enjoy, who do make this a driving force.
So are we talking about the anime as a whole?
Sure.
Or are we talking about
it could be an arc, it could be an anime as a whole, whatever.
That changes things.
Whatever you may want to just pinpoint with it.
Because it's when I think about something like One Piece, if we're talking about an anime as a whole, I'm not gonna say One Piece. But if we're not, if we're talking about arcs, it's easy to bring up Dressrosa, where all of them almost all of them caught my attention. Sorry, I messed up there. There's
some of the people in Dressrosa aren't great. Little Dillinger running around in his little spandex.
Yeah,
but I will say that's something with One Piece that's very much enjoyable is. It's weird. I mentioned it before, I see some people not enjoying some of the villains there or whatever it may be, and it's weird because it's I don't know, I'd say villains of One Piece, Crocodile, fantastic, I love him.
Oh yeah, Crocodile.
He's
Crocodile.
He's a fucker who just punches up, and he stands no chance half the time, but he fucking does it anyways, and it's great. And it's when he's first introduced, he's still definitely good. But I will say just as soon as you get to the later shit with him, it's fucking great. Enel is honestly really fucking great. He's the whole reason that Skypiea becomes pretty damn enjoyable. And honestly, I have kind of hope that he is a one-time villain. I know some people want him to come back, and listen, I'd love that in a way. But I almost more so want the whole thing of, he accomplished its goal. Technically speaking, he won. What else? Lucci. I see people actually upset about Lucci. In fact, pal of mine does not like him. And I'm personally really fucking cool with him. He's the type of villain I enjoy. Because this is a stereotype of a villain that I enjoy, when done right, of course.
Oh yeah, we're gonna talk about what stereotypes we enjoy too. That's what you said. Okay,
but this
works then.
This helps build into that.
Yeah.
Lucci is one of the types of villains I really enjoy, depending if it's done well, of course, and it's evil just for the fucking sake of being evil. There's some villains I know who are done like this that are just bleh.
Yeah.
But he is perfectly done in such a way where they don't explain too much to you. They just show you, look at him get rid of the civilians, right? And then bam, his goal is accomplished, and there we go.
I mean, another thing is
it works great.
Crocodile and Enel are kind of the same. They're evil for just being evil. They haven't really got.
They have bigger goals in mind. Lucci's big entire thing is he fucking kills people and does not care. If anything, he takes pleasure.
Oh, okay, okay. That's what. Okay.
Yeah, Crocodile is Crocodile and Enel had a plan. Enel wanted to conquer shit, or blow up Skypiea and then conquer the endless verf, which the moon. I mean, he fucking did it.
Yeah, so you meant more so just killing just to kill rather than just to be evil.
Yeah, I'm talking
because
original
those
Saiyan,
two kind of.
I'm talking original Saiyan Saga Vegeta who just shows up kills a bunch of people on other planets, shows up, Nappa gets fucked, and then he kills Nappa and goes, yep, don't care.
Vegeta's a good one too, I'd say, in my eyes as well.
I do really love when he's doing that shit, and I think it almost does add to, like, later with Buu Saga and stuff, where it's like, I guess Majin Vegeta isn't as big of a drive towards that, but it is similar to a certain degree, and I do enjoy that. And yeah, it's fucking like, I enjoy that type of shit if it's done right. Some villains like that aren't great. I will say one thing I'm not huge on. Okay, it can be done well. It can be done well, and I do enjoy it when it is done well. But there are some villains who, you know, the entire thing is like, oh, you're like like more so the idea that, like, oh, just the weak suck and everything and all that, right? And it's like, oh, strength is everything, and like no other drive other than that, really. It can be done well, don't get me wrong, but you know, I can think of two great examples who have that type of motto, or at least something similar to that, and it's like, I'm not huge on them at all. And yeah, that's a bit of a weird one. I just remembered I was talking about One Piece villains. You know, now that I think about it, Mori is the next one I was going to talk about, and I mean, Mori is, like, weird because, like, yeah, there's not much. Here's what I will say. I was almost going to give him the Caesar treatment. I was almost going to be like, he's like Caesar, where Caesar becomes interesting once he's not a villain. That I don't even know that that's true. I think actually Moria might just be not great. Who would be after that? That'd be what, Sabaody.
Oh, right. That was somebody I was gonna say for, like, what we were just for what we're talking about was Dio. I'd say Dio is.
Yeah, I do like.
I wouldn't say stereotypical, but I definitely say, like, he's a very good.
He's a big mustache twirler. He sits in his chair and he laughs and shit. I will say I like part 1 Dio more than part 3. I've discussed this with a friend of mine, 2 friends of mine actually, and it was just like, it's weird. Part 3 makes him feel like he somehow became dumber, and I don't know, like, why exactly. He's cocky, definitely, right? Don't get me wrong, he has a new ability, he's cocky, all that shit, so it makes sense that he acts the way he does. But at the same time, he also acts really fucking stupid half the time. Like, this was something that me and one of the friends discussed, and, like, we were, because it was a friendly argument, of course, like, not us yelling at each other. It was a friendly argument where we were just, like, discussing back and forth. We were discussing with, like, one of the other friends. You may have all seen him in the comments of my, like, videos and posts, Mr. Kingnut, because he was defending Dio, which is fine, right? We were having a discussion, and I'm not gonna, like, blame somebody for defending some sort of anime character or something in a discussion, unless they suck. But, like, if it's something like Dio, it's whatever. But we were having the discussion with him of, like, it's silly that Dio gets punched in the head, loses, like, function in his legs, is having trouble regenerating, all that shit, or, like, he can't. All this shit happens. He gets his shit rocked. He drinks Joseph's blood. He gets back up, and he immediately starts acting cocky again. But he now has 9 seconds in time stop. He could literally just kill Jotaro right there. But it's like he has to make a spectacle and use the fucking road roller, and it's like, I don't know why he does. Like, listen, it's cool, and don't get me wrong, I love that moment. But it's like, why, right? From the narrative perspective, it makes no fucking sense on why he's just sitting around being this cocky. It's like, you know what will happen. You've realized it at this point. Even if you have more time on your time stop, you probably realized by now, I shouldn't be doing this. Especially because earlier in the fight, he mentioned the fact that, oh yeah, the Joestars always find a fucking way to come around. So it's like, yeah, you were the one who out loud said that. So it's weird to me that he just does that shit. I do like part 1 Dio a whole lot. Part 3 Dio's still good. It's just like, he could be better. He could definitely be better. I will say JoJo does have a decent bit of great villains. I fucking hate Part 8s, and I mean, you know, a lot about Part 8, at least the second half of Part 8 I don't like. But I will say every other villain before that is pretty damn good.
Yeah, I agree.
Cars is a great...
I'd say Cars would be my weakest link from the 5 parts, from what I've seen, because I haven't seen Part 6, but I'd say Cars is like the weakest link compared to the others, in my opinion.
He's weird because he's almost like...
Because he's stupid strong and OP since he, you know, with like the power he obtained. But at the same time, it's like, he doesn't feel as menacing as the others do, in my opinion.
Because that's the thing, it's like he's almost a not villain. He's a villain, but he's almost a not villain, because the one thing that makes him a villain, I'd argue, is the fact that he's like, guys, look at this cool thing I found that we can do. We could kill humans, and we'll like be much better in life and all that shit, right? And this fucking stone mask that I have right here with these like this big stone part or like the gem part on top of it, and all this shit, right? Mm-hmm. That's the biggest thing for him as a villain. But the reason I say he's like almost a not a villain is because you see these scenes of like, you know, there's the dog walking on the street and there's the drunk dudes driving the car almost running over it, and he slashes the car, and like I don't remember if he like manages to move the car out of the way because of that, or whatever it may be, or he like moves the dog. I don't remember what the fuck it was, but he just like fucking kills the dudes in the car, but the dog is perfectly safe, and it shows that it's like he's more so a threat to humanity and not literally everything else.
Yeah, I guess
it's not like he's trying to kill everything on Earth.
I mean, well, Akira isn't trying to kill everything either.
I mean, well, Kira's entire
I said Akira. Oh my god.
Akira was also...
I've made that joke way too much.
I mean, he was also...
Every time he would say Kira in the past, I was like, Toriyama.
Well, no, I said Akira because Akira is also in Part 4.
Okay.
And I mean, he's...
But even when you said Kira, I did it too.
He's technically a villain, albeit they didn't really delve on him too much. Although I still do like Akira, but I do wish they went more into him. But Kira's interesting because he's very much like... He's a villain, but it's so much of a background thing that it's like weird, but it works well.
Yeah. But we're talking about Part 4, right?
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah. He's just in the background half the time doing shit, and it's like that is him being a villain. But it's like he's a normal ass dude, and that's what I like. And I know some people can make the argument of, and you know, I'm not going to go too much into it to obviously not spoil people. Mm-hmm. But I know some people can make the argument that it's like, well, that's kind of similar to Part 8's, but it's like the difference between Part 4 and Part 8's villain is Part 4's, you know, part with Kira in Part 4. He is doing shit the whole last time. Like, I think it's like... I'm trying to really remember, like, you see him early on. I think you see him around the time, like, you know, they're fighting Akira. And he might even be doing shit before that. I don't fully remember. But it's like, he's constantly doing shit the whole time. He's not even introduced yet, and he's doing shit. And that's what I really like. Whereas with the comparison of Part 8's villain... He's thrown in there when he has to be a villain. And it's stupid because it's like there is no build up to this moment. He's just there. Mm. And I don't like that. But that's whatever. I know also I like saw some people arguing about it in terms of like, oh well, like Diavolo is kind of, you know, a villain who isn't there half the time. But at the very least, I would say Diavolo is going to be the villain. Because Giorno's immediate thing is, I'm going to take down the boss. And it's like, well, there it is.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, well, I know who the villain is now.
The boss.
Yeah. I will say, like, you know, they do make the interesting turn for him out of nowhere. But then again, even the turn isn't, like, just at the very end. It's in the middle of it. And speaking of which, I do really fucking like Diavolo. I love the subtle hints of his backstory, and the fact that, it's two people, but one of them isn't actually an asshole, and the other one is fucking scum. That's a really great thing. I just mentioned it, but I do love these subtle things the anime did, like the blinking, when he's like an infant, and how that changes his eyes. I really did enjoy that. I don't even remember if that was in the manga. I actually forgot. I'm slowly but surely, getting the manga as they release it, so I'll find out once they get to that chapter again. But yeah, that shit is great. I do enjoy him a lot as a villain. And part 6 is... not to go too much into it, I think he might actually be the weakest for me because I'm not super into him. He's good, but I'm not super into him. Part 7's is really fucking great. I like him a lot. I do think Part 7's is an actual villain, unlike what people try to say. I think he is genuinely a villain. He's, I guess, on the better side of things than the average villain, but, he's still a villain. Yeah. So I guess that's what I want to say for that. I don't know if you have anything about Part 5s and all that.
Honestly, I like all the villains except, in the first 5 parts, because I haven't seen past that. Except for... I wouldn't say except for 2, because I like Cars, but he doesn't fully feel fleshed out to me. Yeah. Everybody else, as a villain, felt very good. Mm-hmm. Very solid. I understand the point you made about Dio. But it's I still do love Dio. But both Dios are awesome for me. But I would agree that part 1 Dio is better. Mm-hmm. But I think they're both awesome still. Yeah. And Kira and Diablo are great they're awesome as well. Yeah. Cars is just... He's alright.
Yeah. I will say Cars gets better on rewatches and shit once I fully understood how he acts and everything. Also, I want to mention, I just remembered now, the good example of, I mentioned I'm not super huge on the gimmick, or stereotype rather, of villain who strives for power and nothing else, and that's all that matters. There is a good example of a great villain like that. And,
I can think of one too.
Who is it? I'm gonna go with one that you probably don't know at all.
Oh, okay.
Younger Toguro from Yu Yu Hakusho, because I just remembered. He's a great example of that, because I'll just explain this in case people haven't seen it, and I recommend watching it, but I'm gonna explain this, and it's just whatever. I don't think it's that much of a spoiler to mention it, but him and another important character in the show are years back in the show, way back. Oh shit.
That scared me.
A jump scare for everybody.
Jump scare. Thanks Mike. Holy shit.
So years back, him and another character that are important in the show are essentially participating in what's known as the Dark Tournament and all that stuff, and all other things first of all, I believe they were both spirit detectives. If you don't know what that is, that's essentially, I'll make the comparison with something like Demon Slayer or something. It's the people who are hunting demons and all that type of shit. It's Yu Yu Hakusho's version of that, and honestly it's quite literally just hunting demons. But I believe they're both spirit detectives, but also they're participating in the Dark Tournament, which is something in the realm of demons and everything that they have every now and then. I don't remember if it was a specific amount, I don't remember if it was 100 years, whatever it may be. I don't remember. But there was a time frame for it. But there are characters who participate in that and everything, and the clear thing they make, or at least one of them makes the rule of, is they don't want to participate in that anymore. And they have these chats with each other that are very much give you this connection for the two of them, as well as just give more depth to both of them. And eventually it leads to them confronting later on in the arc And it's this comparison of one of them is still human, but they've grown old. They're a bit weaker than they were like in the past and everything. Whereas Toguro has given up his entire humanity to become a demon, solely so that he could like retain his power and everything, because that's like all he sought. And there's more to it than that, of course, but I don't want to go too much into it because there is spoiler-related things I could mention. But it's very much like that is done well in such a way that it actually becomes enjoyable, and I'm like, wow, that's actually great. It shows you that like there is a almost proper drive for this type of power. Anyways, you had an example?
Frieza.
I guess, yeah.
I think Frieza's done pretty well as a...
Well, I wouldn't say
power.
he's that type of... He's like a very tyrant villain. Like, okay, here's the example for Dragon Ball I'm going to make for something like power. It's something like Jiren, who like seeks only strength and everything.
Oh! Okay, I was
Yeah.
thinking Frieza because of his whole, like... He's like, I'm the strongest, and I'm a tyrant. And that's kind of... Yeah. That's kind of it. I wasn't... It sounded like he fit into that category, but maybe not.
Yeah, not
I guess
really.
it's kind of hard to... Yeah. To me, it kind of sounded like he did. That was why. Would you say Blackbeard falls into that, though?
Blackbeard's like following his ambitions. His entire thing is like he's a pirate who's trying to follow his goals instead of going along with these rules, quote unquote, that like they have all established and everything about the seas and all that. He's kind of similar, I will say. He's very much driven towards his one ambition. But it does work well with how he does that and everything, I will say.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to look at your actual like 150 shows
No.
and try and think of something?
No.
Alright.
Not really. If I could... Alright, I'm gonna scroll through it quickly. Fuck.
Okay.
And you can keep talking.
You know what? Here's something interesting I will say, because I saw Full Metal there, and I do want to mention. One thing I do like about the Full Metal villains, I guess, is there's not an insane amount to them, and they're neat, but somebody pointed this out, and it's something I do really like, and it's the fact that they all die in the same way that like they or die in the same fashion of the sin they embody and shit like that, or at least something along the lines of it. And I do like that a lot. It does add a bigger depth to them and everything, and it makes them more interesting. Some of them they make really like well done. Like I thought Envy was great because you get that final speech from him, and it's really
Yeah,
good.
that one was really cool.
Yeah, it gives you more of an understanding about this shit.
I really like, what's his face? Guy with eye patch. I forgot his name, oh my god. I know his thing, it's Wrath, but I don't know I don't remember his name.
I don't remember his actual,
Yeah, his actual name is what I don't remember. But yeah, he's pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, he's great. Trying to think of what else. I could go more into the specific like ReZero examples, but you haven't started that yet, and I don't want to go into anything until then. And I mean, the big arc hasn't been animated yet.
I don't know.
Kirby villains.
Kirby villain. I don't even remember it, man. Magi. Did that one have a? I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since I've watched that one. Kind of not. No, I'd say meh. Probably not. It's hard when I'm trying. I'm not looking for like. I'm looking for what we were talking about, like power hungry kind of villains. I wasn't even thinking about like, oh, maybe I should just look at like what kind of villains I find are really good. So I'm scrolling through this like, I think I did it wrong. I think I should have just looked. I don't even know who the villain would be.
I can mention the fact that a lot of fucking Yu-Gi-Oh villains are honestly really great.
Yes.
Whether it be original GX 5Ds.
Yeah.
Or at least the good part of 5Ds. A lot of them are shockingly really great for a fucking children's card game show.
Right?
Like, honestly, I debate about it a lot, but it's like, damn, I honestly think like somebody like Merrick might just be one of my favorite characters, or like Bakura.
I freaking love Merrick. I love Merrick. He's too awesome. I'm trying to think of some villains as I'm scrolling through and looking, but I mean, I'm like quick thinking, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like I'm not sitting here staring at everything like, I mean, Cell was a pretty good villain.
Oh, yeah.
That's one that I think everybody kind of agrees on. I mean, Frieza's too, if we're talking Dragon Ball Z, but
I pretty much
everybody seems to love
like every main villain.
Cell Saga and Frieza Saga for good reason, I'd say. Wait, every villain?
Well, like every main villain in Z, I'd say.
See, I don't know if I count Majin Buu as a villain. I mean, I guess once he becomes Evil Buu and Evil Buu absorbs Majin Buu, yeah, then he's the villain. But he's not really a villain until then. So it'd be more Evil Buu rather than Majin Buu.
Yeah.
Okay, that was actually a really cool villain. Is this a zombie has a cool villain? Oh, the dude's just... I don't know how to explain it, I guess. Because it's been a while since I've watched the anime. I forgot about that one, and I feel bad because it's actually one of my favorite animes. But yeah, the villain in that one's really cool. He's very like, all he kind of wants is to die, because like he did die, but then he got saved. So it's like he's been living for like hundreds of years, and at this point he's kind of like suffered, and he's like he just wants to kind of die. In a way, it's kind of like a Kaido thing a little bit, in the sense of like he can't freaking die, and he just wants to die. But yeah, he's very like, he kind of goes to any means to try to like get the person to kill him, but the only person who can kill him doesn't want to kill someone. So, there's that, but then there's, yeah, he's a pretty cool villain. I'm gonna think, Kill a Kill, that, no, I wouldn't say the villain's like incredible. Okay, the villain for Moggy's pretty awesome. If I'm talking like just villain in general, I can't explain too much because like that one would be much more of a spoiler. Because you really don't know who the true villain is until like you get to the second season. But basically like the villain is in Moggy is very corrupt, I guess you could say. Like the villain just kind of wants to destroy everything.
Yeah.
Doesn't care for life, nothing at all.
I just remembered. How the fuck did I forget this? Probably because I wasn't looking at my like currently watching list, because I still have 5 episodes left. I need to ask these motherfuckers. You know what? I'm gonna ask them tomorrow.
Overhaul.
Yeah, honestly, I'd agree.
Yeah, I don't know how I didn't even think of that one.
I'd
Overhaul is a freaking amazing villain. You know who else is an amazing villain? 9. From the movie, the second one.
I forgot.
He's pretty good. Oh, okay. Because that movie was great, but he was pretty good too. But Overhaul's better.
I will say,
fucking...
Yeah, so I totally forgot that I had seen Hunter x Hunter, because this happens a lot with any show. Except for, like, any show that isn't in my top 10, I will probably forget about. And even then, I think I probably narrowed it down to, like, top 5. But Hunter x Hunter, it has a decent bit of, like, good villains here and there, except for Greed Island. Greed Island's villain's not great. But some of you may know, and I think I mentioned this on the original episode, that, like, Chimera Ant gets talked about a whole lot, and about how good Chimera Ant is and everything. And I think, Mr. King himself and all 3 of his, like, pawns and everything, or, like, his servants, all of them are fucking great, especially Miriam, the king himself. Miriam is so fucking well done that, like, it is to a point where, the storyline with him, and I won't go into it, but the storyline with him and the character that some of you, if you have seen it, may know, you probably will, that shit is so good that I've legitimately wrote it down on my list of, this entire arc is better than all of Yu Yu Hakusho, even though I think all of Yu Yu Hakusho is better than a majority of Hunter x Hunter, like everything else. That entire just singular arc of Hunter x Hunter is better than it. Honestly, this is something that does, like, almost disappoint me with Hunter x Hunter in a way, slightly. It's just, like, it has that fantastic arc, and it also has York New, and don't get me wrong, I like York New, but it has that fantastic arc, and it's like, wow, that arc is really good. If all of the series was like this, it would probably be top 3. Like, it would pass One Piece for me, because it's like, it is that fucking good. I love Chimera Ant. I just wish the rest of the show was that good. Like, even York New I think is pretty damn good, but I don't think it comes as close as something like that. I don't think it has as much of a, I'm gonna say, like, payoff and everything, or, like, as big of just moments that are in there as that arc does. And it's like, and honestly, the villains really fucking help. The villains are constantly built upon more and more, to the point that it's like, this shit just becomes great. It's like, the only bad part about it is, like, the political stuff they go into, and that's, like, for 1 or 2 episodes. It's whatever. Yeah, I love that shit.
Might be an odd one to bring out there, but not that odd. But 7 Deadly Sins.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not huge on the overall main villain, because I don't know, it feels like the overall main villain is lacking something. But talking about good villains, because, like, the first season I enjoyed, but I wasn't invested in most of, like, the characters. Like, I think 3 of them interested me the most, of, like, the main well, 4 actually, because once season 2 hit, the 4th one came of the main cast. 3 of them I'm not as interested in, and I'm not as interested in King, Deanne, and Gother. I'm interested in the other 4 a lot more, especially with, like, their backstories and everything. I found they had the better backstories as well. The other 4, and, like, they're just a lot more hype when they come on screen. Like, I don't know, with the other 3 I was never, like, popping out of my seat. But we're talking about villains, and once the second season came, there was a whole thing about I mean, this isn't really a spoiler, but the 10 Commandments, which If you don't know what it is, then it's not a spoiler, so it's fine. Because when they show up is when you kind of find out about it. But holy shit, when they showed up, I was just like, oh boy, shit's getting real. And like, I don't know, they were all a little quirky in their own way. But but several of them were very badass and awesome. And just like, I am okay with a completely badass villain. Like, I love it when there are times that I, like, sometimes, yeah, there are times when I love it when main characters or villains are, like, really just badass. And they come on screen and I just sit up in my chair like, oh, let's go, they came, it's done, it's over. And it gets me excited sometimes. That's why when Zoro, you know, puts on, like, his headband, I sit up and I'm like, here we go, here we fucking go. Like, I love those kind of moments, and that's kind of what I felt with some of those commandments. Yeah, they were really awesome. I definitely have to say that, like, I enjoyed some of them. Like, some of them I wasn't huge on, but most of them were pretty cool. Most of them were pretty awesome. I thought they were well designed, and just very badass. Some of them as well, or just crazy. Yeah, that's pretty much all I can think of, honestly. I would say with Jujutsu so far, it's pretty interesting, especially since, like, in a way, Sukuna kind of seems like the you know, the main villain, but doesn't, and I'm kind of like,
it's an interesting.
It's
main
so interesting.
And also main villain in one body,
and it kind of makes me think, like, is Naruto that same thing? You know, because that'd be kind of cool. Like, I don't know about it. I'm only like 20 episodes in.
Yeah.
But I'm like, if that's kind of the same thing with Naruto, that'd be cool, because, like, I don't know much about, you know, because you obviously find out right at the beginning in the first episode about what happened. So, yeah, there's no spoilers.
I will say, I do remember hearing about, and I'm personally, when I watch Naruto, I'm not going as far as Shippuden. I might have mentioned this before. I'm not going that far. I'm stopping because I've genuinely not heard anything good. But I do know that they introduce a villain at the very end of that or some shit, where it's just thrown in there out of nowhere and it just sucks. And it's like, damn, that sucks, especially considering, like, from what I've understood from what people have said, the original series has a lot of fucking great villains that are just built up, and even to a certain degree, Shippuden actually had decent villains who were kind of built up. So it's kind of interesting. But it's like, damn, it does suck that it does end on a villain who was just kind of thrown in there. Although I guess you could say, like, oh, this is Boruto, but I mean, I you know, everybody's gonna enjoy the shows they enjoy. But I personally do not see the appeal in that, especially.
I'm personally gonna watch Shippuden, but I'm not gonna watch Boruto.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, once I'm done Shippuden, that's it.
Yeah, I don't know that I want to.
Because, like, I've heard very bad things about Boruto, and I'm kind of like, I'm not really that interested.
But the biggest thing I've heard
so it's fine.
The biggest thing I've heard about Shippuden, and it's the reason why I'm not super interested, is people have been like, but the fight, right? People are like, oh, the fights in it are really fucking great. I'm like, listen, cool, but if I don't care about the characters or anything, I'm not gonna want to watch this. Like, you can make the argument that, like, Super had great fights, and it's like, yeah, sure, Dragon Ball Super had great fights. I still don't fucking like it.
I mean, the only thing I could kind of think of is maybe, like, you know, at that point you'll understand, like, you'll know more about the characters once you're done the original Naruto. And, like, be more invested in them, and then it's like, okay, now Shippuden might actually be interesting. I'm not sure.
It's more so a worry if they introduce a character and there's, like, nothing. And it's like, cool, they have nothing going for them, I don't care.
Yeah.
You could kill them off and I'll be like, oh, well, that sucks, I guess.
I will mention how I feel about it once I get there.
It'll be a while. Yeah. Yeah, it's weird for me. Like, I do wish some shows, like, I was thinking about this to myself, because I've recently come to realize that something I did think I enjoyed, I wasn't really huge on as much and everything, and part of the problem it had was something I noticed about a show, or like shows, that it's something people like, writers will try to do, one way or the other, and both have pros and cons, and here's what I'm going to go into. It's, some writers will make fewer characters to focus on, and that kind of sucks because there's not as many diverse scenarios. It might be more focused to those characters, but the good news with that is you're focused to those characters. You don't have to worry about not including them in an arc or whatever it may be, because they're there. Like, they're the only characters you have, so it's easier to focus on them. Whereas, having more characters, it's neat. You now have like fuck tons of characters you can work with. The problem becomes if you don't focus on them, they don't mean shit. And the prime example I can think of is something like My Hero. Fucking, like, 3 characters matter. Maybe 4. I don't know. I haven't looked at it in a while. But it's like 4 characters maybe matter. And there's like 30 that probably, that are like in the series. Yeah. Like, as who are supposed to have a main focus.
Earlier on, like, it did feel like more characters mattered. And then, it's kind of dwindled down to like, here are the main 3. Oh, yeah, and here's All Might.
Like, listen, I'm not a writer or anything, right? I would love to be, but I'm not, like, haven't actually done anything. But what I will say is I feel like if you're going to do that with characters, you need to fully plan out, okay, I need to make sure I'm giving these people ample screen time, whatever it may be. They don't even always have to be important in an arc. Just give them, like, something there. Give them something very minimal if you have to, and then give them something big later. It's just like, have them be there, because if they're not there at all, why even make them?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it feels a bit silly.
Yeah, I will say there are some that even from the start I was kind of like, okay, I hope maybe there'll be more to this person, and there hasn't been with like My Hero, like Tail Guy.
Yeah, name me something like Tail Guy or fucking Tape Man have done, like, recently. And it's like, I don't know. Maybe I don't know enough about what's happened recently, but I don't feel like people would be able to give me a good example. It's weird. Honestly, like, something I out of what I do remember of the second movie was, I do remember at least some attention going to other characters, whereas
we got some attention to a lot of other characters.
Whereas from what I remember from the third, it's like, 3 characters. Your main cast, sir.
The first one had half of the class participating, so I was like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, that's whatever.
But the second one at least had everybody pretty much participating, which I really liked. Even though, yes, the focus was on a couple.
But that's fine.
But that's because those couple were fighting the main one. Yeah. So it's like, that's fine.
It's fine if you're going to put the focus on somebody else. It's just like, make sure that the other people are at least getting something. Like, my prime example, honestly, is always like something like Dressrosa with One Piece, where it's like, if we're being real, Robin doesn't do very much there. But at the very least, she does shit like save Rebecca, make the big tree, all that. Right? Very minimal thing to remember, but it's something that's there, and you remember, and you go, oh yeah, she did stuff.
Yeah, it's not like she was useless and she was there for nothing, and she should have went with the others, right?
Yeah.
Like, she actually helped. Yeah. But then you got someone like Dellinger. I don't even care if I say it right. Who's just kind of just there.
He's an antagonist. It's whatever. Like, I'm more so saying for main characters.
Okay.
Like, your main cast needs to have focus, and it's like, that's the biggest thing. Like, you want to do that with villains, whatever. Like, oh no, Dillinger doesn't get focus. Who gives a shit? But like,
yeah, it's just, it was, in my opinion, it's weird because it's like every other villain got focus.
I guess, yeah.
In Dressrosa, and it was like, for him, it's like, Oh, no, I'm sorry. I missed someone. Not just him. Big guy. Ton guy.
He got to fight the giant.
Yeah. He got to fight a little more. But, like, those two I kind of felt like...
Yeah. I got it.
What I'm trying to say is, like, those two felt like they had a lot less to them than everyone else, even though, like, some of the others just had, like, more fighting and, like, more talking and such.
Mm-hmm.
Those two just kind of felt like they got the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
And then there were others who were, you know, got a lot more, but it's like, okay, that will happen. But, yeah.
Yeah.
But you mean more for the main cast, right?
Yeah, just more so main cast. If you're going to make a big main cast, make sure to always focus on them in some way. And it's like, if they're not there, right, like, if you don't want them to be there for an arc or you don't have anything to write for them, give it a reason. Have them be somewhere else. Have it be they're injured, whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, give an excuse to it. So that way it's like, okay, that makes sense on why they're not there. At least that's how I feel about it.
Yeah. So
Oh.
what do we think? We'll call it here?
I guess, yeah. We've gone on for almost...
2 hours. Almost 2
Yeah,
hours.
almost. Yeah, 15 minutes in it would be, but yeah. Alright, so that'll be it. You know what? Oh! Tune in next time, because we will have a special guest. And
oh, yeah, we're doing that. That's right.
Yeah. And our special guest, we'll see if he'll decide the topic. I might ask him if he'd like to decide a fun topic to discuss, and it could probably be anything. Hopefully that, you know, our YouTube and Spotify would allow, but we'll give him the topic choice for next time. But yeah, we'll have a special guest.
Also, sorry about the excess of One Piece mentioning. I just found it worked a lot of the time.
Yeah, no, it works. It's something that we
right
can very
now,
much.
With what we were talking about, I found like it worked a lot of the time, so I had to kind of bring it up.
It's something we can very much well bounce off of because it's both like it's something we both know.
We both know it. There's so many arcs to it, so there's so many villains, so many characters, and it's like 1,000 episodes long. So
apologies to when I do it in my videos because I make those comparisons and I don't think about anything else, and I'm well aware about how some people might have felt about me using it as an example. I don't know. It was the biggest thing I could think of at the moment when I was writing my notes. But yeah, it's whatever. But yeah, we'll be back next time with a guest, and we'll see you all there.